Oh, we got a good episode today on mediumship. Maybe you are fascinated by the world of spirit. Maybe you have loved ones who are past that you want to connect with, or perhaps you feel called to explore your own psychic gifts and mediumship abilities. Today, I am joined with Jessica Lynne, who is an Australian medium. She has a beautiful story of following the trail and some really, really great tips to follow to connect with loved ones past or develop your own mediumship abilities if you are called to. So let's jump right in and join the conversation with Jessica. Oh, Jessica, so looking forward to diving into the topic of mediumship. And I wanted to begin with, did you have like an awakening experience? I know you were connected with your grandmother in particular, but like, was there like this moment? Because I know you had an awakening quite early on in your life. So what was that moment for you that was like, I think I'm a medium?
Yeah, so I've always been very intuitive. I've had that sort of really strong gut instinct. Like I just knew things, even as a kid, and I didn't know what that meant for me. I thought everyone was sort of like this. You could just pick up on things. Like I would be able to know who was about to walk through the door, and then they'd walk in and I'd be like, oh my God. It's just been weird things along the way that have sort of just added up. But I guess when my nana did pass away when I was 12, that really struck a chord with me. And I know that seems super young to like start thinking about this kind of stuff, but because she was like a mother to me, I just couldn't fathom in my mind that she was just gone. I'm like, that cannot be a thing. There has got to be something else out there. And look, my family weren't closed off to the idea of the spirit world, so it wasn't unusual for me to be thinking that there would be something else after we passed. So that really is the time where I started to question things, to think a little bit deeper, and to try and find my own ways of connecting with her. Even as a young child, like I used to just sit there with her ashes and I would just talk to her just like she was here.
Aww.
I'd just sit there, and she had a really beautiful wooden ashes box that I used to sit with, and it had a beautiful smell to it. And I remember sitting there so many times, and the smell of that wooden box would fill the whole room when I was talking to it. And I was like, this is weird. Is anyone else noticing this smell is just filling the room? And most of the time no one could notice, but sometimes they did. They're like, oh, that is actually really weird. And then I started smelling that smell outside of that room when I was down the street. I'd get like a quick whiff of it, and I'm like, oh my God, I think this is her way of telling me that she's all right. So it all sort of started from that moment in time. But then like fast forward, I didn't become a medium until I was like 30.
Yeah.
So I had all these years in between where I was navigating life, going through my own traumas, trying to heal parts of myself, breaking cycles. I wasn't ready for this journey then, but I found that in the last, 5 or 6 years, that I've been more aligned, more open, in a better space where I'm able to receive these messages the way that I do. And I never really knew how to do any of this. And because I was obsessed with psychic mediums, I'd go to anyone. I'd be like, yep, you read for me and you read for me. And I just loved it. But one day a medium said, she's like, you should be able to do this. Why are you not sitting on this end? And it always just stuck with me. And when I tried to do it, it was like someone turned on a light switch. So
whoa,
super cool.
That's really interesting. I love that, you've shared that, because I know it's easy when, you're in a podcast, you're talking about your story or whatever, and be like, the awakening began when I was really young and I just knew then. And when we look back, it's easy to be like, I did know then, but we also kind of didn't. And there's always this big journey that we have to go on to, like, well, in my experience and what I've witnessed in others as well, to like claim the gifts and say yes to them as well. So what did you, so when you were like, so it was in your early 30s that you began like consciously going, yep, I'm going to do this. Did you like sign up to a training? Like what did that look like? How did you go, okay, this is what I want to do? Obviously I really resonate with like being obsessed with going to go see mediums, being obsessed. And, it's sometimes it's like so obvious when you actually look at your passions and like the things that are really weird about us, that it's like, of course that was it. But talk me through like how that came about.
Yeah, so even when as you're saying that, I'm thinking like about my journey. Even when I was a teenager, like I was sitting in the local crystal shop when I was like 19 years old doing meditations with just random ladies.
Oh my God. You and me, like we have quite a lot of commonalities actually. Well, obviously the Australia piece, but yeah, the same thing. It was like early awakening. I had a real strong, like grandma, and I've got this group of guides I work with called the grandmothers,
Love that.
but yeah, same thing. It was like lots of older women that I would just hang out with and go do trainings and meditate with. Oh my God, it's so funny. Oh my God.
So that was
Okay,
me
so
like way
yeah,
back when. Like I
yeah,
started all the way back then, and it was like little pieces of the
yeah,
puzzle kept being put together. But it was
yeah.
like when I was 30, I remember being in a job that I just hated. And I had this really great friend who was like, I was an executive assistant to the CEO and she was EA to some of the other execs. And so we would just hang out together and we loved spirituality. And it was like I met this little friend and this person who resonated with me in an environment that was so toxic. And I said, hey, I found this course. I'm like, we should just go on the weekend. It's at like I think it was a crystal shop in like Camberwell or something like that. I'm like, let's go there. Let's just do the course, see if it's all right, and we'll just see what happens. And it was being run by a lady who had done a mediumship reading for me, and she was fantastic. So I'm like, she's got to be legit. Like, let's just see how it goes. So me and my friend rocked up, and within 5 minutes, we were doing this exercise to like blend with spirit, and we were paired up with a total stranger. And it was like, all right, you have to read for each other like right now. And I'm like, what? And my friend looked at me and she's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
No idea what I'm doing. But I swear, as soon as I blended my energy with spirit, I started to sense and feel things, and I started channeling this lady's dad who was on the other side. And it literally was like that light switch, like that medium had said to me. Everything just came like flooding in, and it all just started to make sense. Like I'd had amnesia for so many years, and I was starting to remember why I'm here. It's fascinating.
And so do you believe that like anyone can be a medium, or that like some people are born with the gift and then you say yes to the gift, or a bit of both? Like what do you reckon?
I think that we all have the ability to be able to connect. We all have an intuition. We all have spirit guides, spirit teams, loved ones on the other side. We're all sort of in the same boat. It's just like anything. It's where you're willing to put your energy, what you want to work at, how open you are to sensing and feeling these things. Some people are like me, where they're like gung-ho. They're like, yep, I'm into it. I'm going to do the hard yards. I'm going to get there. I'm going to dive deep and see what happens. And other people are okay with just sensing and feeling things and staying in their lane and doing their thing. So I don't think I'm a chosen one, or I have a gift that somebody else doesn't. I just choose to tap into it in this way.
Got it. And then like, okay, so it sounds like it's like around Saturn returns was like okay, I'm kind of fed up with this career. This is kind of an area that I want to explore. So you went to that, you did the blending with spirit, and you're like, holy shit, I think this is a thing. What did it look like from then? How did you like follow the path?
Yeah, so it took me 4 or so years from that moment to be in my business full time. So I started and I was just doing it for fun, just because I could. I'd read for anyone that would let me. I was like, I'll do free readings. I think I did free readings for 2 years, and hectic mentoring, like just trying to build up my symbology and learn as much as I possibly could. Like I didn't go into this, and I still don't go into this with ego. It's like at any moment, you know, you could have things taken away from you, or you might not be able to do this. So I take every single day as it comes, and I'm grateful for every experience that I have. And I think that that's why things unfolded the way that they did for me. I wasn't planning on leaving my corporate job. That was not my plan at all. The universe had other plans. But I was like, nope, this is my side thing. This is something that's a passion of mine. I'm not going to put pressure on it for it to become anything more than what this is. It's something that I just love to do. So everything I've done, it's been in pieces and step by step. I only started charging for my readings because people told me I should. They're like, you should now. Like, you're ready for that. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I'll just do that now. And then people are like, why aren't you doing this full time? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't want to. And they're like, okay then. And I ended up leaving. I was executive assistant to Peter Alexander, so a big pajama brand here in Australia. And I'd been there for 3 years. I was exhausted. The travel was a lot. He was lovely, but it was just energetically really heavy for me. And I was a high-end EA, like you're on the go 24/7. Like it was a lot. And I'm trying to do this on the side that I'm really loving, but I don't have the energy for it because I'm in my corporate grind, you know. So I ended up going, you know what? I think I'm going to find a job that's just closer to home. It's just so easy for me, transactional,
What
right?
could be closer to home?
I know. So I was like, all right, I'll leave this job, Spirit, if you give me another EA role that ticks all these boxes for me. And they've gone, rightio. So they gave me one. And I was like, cool, I'm going to leave PA. I'm going to go into this like business that's closer to home. I'm going to keep doing my stuff on the side. I lasted 5 days at that new job. I walked in. It was not what it seemed. They had made it look the certain way they needed it to so that I would finally go, you know what? I have no attachment to this job.
Yeah.
I've barely started. Why not? It's just a time that I can just take a chance on me and see how it goes. And at that point, I had a wait list of like 800 people. Like I was run off my feet. I was like booked for a year solid. Like there was so many like writing on the wall, but I was still like, I'm too scared. But I did. I took a chance on me.
And what do you think that fear was? Like, was that like fear of like people seeing you as the medium? Doesn't sound like you had that much fear around it. Maybe you did. Was it like the witch wound? Like what was it that was the fear? Or was it the finances? What was it?
Yeah, a lot of it was money. And I think that came from childhood. Like you have to work really hard. You have to work corporate. You have to make as much money as possible. You have to go, 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 go. And I thought I needed stability. A lot of it was stability and safety. And, you know, whenever I made a call in my childhood, it was met with, okay, you can make that call, but you have to live with the consequences of making that call. They were the words that were driven into my head. So it was like, okay, when I make a decision, that ends with me having consequences, which was a negative connotation. So I never believed in myself or thought I could do anything without other people's permission. And that's probably the first time that I actually made a call because I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. If it doesn't work out, that's cool. I'll just kind of go back to what I've done. I've done it for years. I'll just find another job kind of thing. But I kind of trusted that it would work out. And like I said, like I'm 36 this year. It's taken me this long to figure it out in a way. So it takes a while sometimes.
That's like really normal. I think for a lot of people it takes it's the not even Saturn returns, it's like the midlife transits that kind of do it. So, and some people never find it. So that's awesome. And okay, so I want to talk about like a bit more about like how you, because I know what it's like, and I know so many people listening like have like heard calls to follow, whether it's like being an artist, a medium, psychic, whatever it is, writer, but it's like, oh, how do I like follow that trail? It sounds like you really were like just saying yes and yes and yes and showing up. And I'm sure like being an EA, like, you know how to like get shit done. You know what I mean? And so, and navigate different things. But tell me, so I think you said you had like lots of mentors and like, did you study or was it more practical through the mentors? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, it was mostly through practical, like doing, showing up to different like courses and, you know, sessions and just trying to pick people's brains. And the thing is, I'm still doing that. Like to this day, like I might look a certain way online, like very established, but not really. I feel like we're all kind of work in progress. I still want to learn every single day. So I have a mentor now that I'm working with. I really believe in continuing to learn and grow, and I don't want to ever stop learning these things. So it has really been saying yes, as you said, showing up, being consistent, like really trying to like harness this process and harness this life, I guess, and taking things as they come. I'm becoming more of a yes person than a no person when it comes to opportunities. I'll be like, yeah, why not? I'll give that a crack, or oh, that seems all right. I've never had so much trust in my spirit team than what I have today. I used to have to control the narrative all the time, and that's the EA in me. That's the wounded child in me, you know.
It's also like, I really get it as well, because like, like I think at first, like having that ground, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like you need to have like the safety to have the confidence. So tell me, you mentioned your spirit team. So what does that consist of? Is your grandma part of it? Do you have a group of guides, collective beings? What do you
Yeah.
connect with?
So for me, I've obviously got my archangels that I call in all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
my really close spirit team are my grandparents. So it's my
Mm,
grandma, so my nana, my granddad, and my granddad Jack, who is my nana's dad. They're like my three peeps. I feel like I call them in all
mm,
the time. I'm like, hang on,
mm,
which one do I need right now, and who's going to do what? But my granddad, like, because my nana passed when I was 12, and my granddad ended up becoming my person, and
mm,
he was amazing, still is. He's like my guardian on the other side. He keeps my
mm,
all the spirits in check and all that. I see him like my little bodyguard on the other side. He's incredible. I can feel his energy so much more so these days. And there's a lot of other angels and people that I can feel around me. To be fair, I haven't explored them enough to be able to know, because I kind of just trust whoever's going to be there is going to show up. So I never really
mm,
feel alone. I just
mm.
feel like whoever relates to what I'm going through, or whoever can see the situation from the angle that I need to see it at, I feel like they give me the downloads. So it's
Yeah, got
very
it.
trusting.
And so do you, when you're doing a session, do you like go to them first and then they connect you to like other people's ancestors or loved ones past?
Yeah, so when I am preparing for a reading, before the person comes on the call, I call all my people in. I ask them to protect me. When I ask them to during the reading, because I have a process of what I say to my clients, I start opening my portal to their people, and then I
Mm,
guess my guides on this side vet those people and make sure that the people who are stepping forward from a soul perspective have the highest good, are coming from a good place, and are here to give positive messages of reinforcement, healing, and closure.
mm,
So I'm not a fear-based medium. I don't like to pull on any true negativity. Yes, we might
mm,
touch on things that we need to touch on in order to get the message, but I definitely don't want anyone to ever be feeling like we're just giving bad news or anything like that.
mm,
So my spirit team are
mm,
really big on that. We like to keep it
mm,
light and purposeful in the communication.
mm, mm. Awesome. And then you spoke a little bit about protection. And I know you have like whole processes around protection. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm huge on that. I think that, yes, some spirits on the other side, or majority, are, good, have good intentions. Some don't. And I've experienced some that don't have the best vibes and come in and try and mess things up for us in our lives. And I think it's really important to sort of put that protective barrier around yourself to make sure that you're not calling in, or I guess, when you're first starting out in this space, I'll go back, you're kind of open to everything because you're just
Yeah,
excited.
yeah.
You're like, yes, come one, come all. Let me feel everything. Let me sense every spirit. Like, you just are so excited about the thought of being able to do this. But later on,
Mm,
you kind of hone it in and you go, ooh, hang on. I don't like that. That's not good for me. I don't want to be shown that. I don't want to know this. Like, I don't predict people's deaths. People ask me sometimes, oh, how long has my grandma got to live? I'm like, I don't go into that. I might be able to pick up information about health or what's happening, but I don't like
mm,
any of that fear crap. So I'm all about protecting my energy to make sure I don't call that in. And especially when you're talking to clients too, like, everyone knows, you don't have to be a medium to know, people can suck the life out of you, right? Like,
yeah.
there's people out there who, dump all their stuff on you, or, ask you for advice all the time and never take it. And I think we have to be better with our boundaries, our
Mm,
energy, our boundaries, knowing when enough is enough, knowing when we give people advice and then we step back and allow them to live their life. I think that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've had. So it's not just
mm,
about protecting yourself from spirit, but it's protecting yourself in general from energy,
mm.
because I feel like that's so important.
And do you have a process, like if someone was like, "Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
want to do that." Like what would you recommend?
So when it comes from a spiritual point of view, I use a lot of different tools. I love using my crystals. I love frankincense. That's amazing for protection. If anyone follows me already, I'm obsessed with limes. Limes are a really beautiful cleansing tool. You can cut a lime up, put it in your bedroom. It'll cleanse the space, help you sleep better. I've created a candle out of it called the Lime Glow Candle to cleanse your house. So I'm all about limes, guys. But yeah, protection is frankincense. I roll it on myself every time I read for people. You can just keep a little roller in your bag, spray yourself, whatever you want to do.
Roller is in like a face roller
like an
type
essential
thing.
oil roller. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Just put it on your wrist.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good. What else do I do? I guess I sometimes, if you don't have any of that stuff, I just sit there and imagine myself like consumed with a massive white light bubble around me. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed and there's a lot of moving parts and people are just getting in your grill, just step aside, even just go outside, get some fresh air, and just close your eyes and imagine that white bubble of like light and all your spirit team coming forward to help cleanse you in that moment of anything that you've absorbed that is not your own.
That's a great one. Yeah, I do that before I go to sleep, particularly like letting go of like things that happen during the day, but then also other stuff, because sometimes like nighttime can be active, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's when everything comes out to play.
And have you had experiences like before you kind of, or even now, where like spirits have appeared like without you kind of like calling it in, or is it like a switch on and off? How does that work?
Yeah, mostly switch on and off. I think I used to get a little bit more activity before I became more firm with like my boundaries. But now when I'm reading for people, it literally is like that. I'm open, I'm closed kind of thing. And I've worked with my team. Like I don't really dream of my loved ones very much or spirit. It's only very, very rare that will happen for me. And it's because I'm like, okay, guys, I'm like lights on nearly all day. So when I'm lights off at night, you got to give me a minute. And usually they listen. Yeah. So if you're in this space or you're someone who's open to spirituality and you sense and feel things, just tell them. Be like, all right, when I'm on, I'm on. And when I go to sleep, that's my time kind of thing. It's a lot about communication with your other side.
Yeah. And then if someone was like, sorry, excuse me.
Bless you.
If someone listening is wanting to, like, feels like, oh, this is an area I might want to explore mediumship, like what would you recommend?
Yeah, so I think the best thing that you can do is starting with becoming more aware. So this is before you even do courses or anything like that. Yeah. I liked to just, when I was first starting out, I would just sit there and close my eyes just randomly throughout the day. It might be that you go and have your lunch in the park and you just close your eyes and you just start to listen. So I think being present and silent and listening, it helps you to start hearing and sensing and feeling things outside of yourself. And that's what mediumship is all about. It's about observing the room, observing shifts, changes, feelings that are not your own, that there's no way that could be affecting you right now because you have your eyes closed, you can't see anything. But what are you feeling in that moment? I think being present and doing those sorts of activities are really helpful. I also listened to Tony Stockwell's Sitting in the Power. That's a really beautiful track. It really helped me to blend my energy with spirit and learn how to do that. So that's something that's really helpful too if you're just starting out. And then find someone you feel aligned with. You know, not everyone's going to be for you. I feel like that some people are our people, other people are not. So go out and feel it out. Go online. Pick a mentor that feels good. You relate to them. You could be their friend. I say the same thing with psychic mediums. Choose someone who you're like, you know what? We could chat. I feel like that's the medium for you.
I love it. Yeah. And then just like follow the trail, because we're always led, right? But it's like, that kind of intuitive like leap, continuing to do that. It's the path appears then, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, you just got to keep following the little trickles.
And then the trickles, I love it. So finally, the other question I wanted to ask is, I heard you talk about your sense of smell.
Yes.
And is that your, like, and I'm sure a lot of people listening know about the clairs, the intuitive senses. Yes. Do you have specific ones that are stronger, or like do they come in one after the other? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so obviously the first thing I noticed was the smell, but it's actually not my strongest, Claire. My strongest is clairvoyant. I see things a lot. I'll see flash imagery. But it was interesting because when I first started out in my mediumship, all I relied on was sight. I'm like, show me everything. I want to see it. I want to see it. And then I think like 6 months into my practice, all of a sudden I couldn't see anymore. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
Silence. I was like, hang on, why am I blind? I'm like, I've lost my ability to do mediumship. And it was because I feel like they were saying, no, Jess, you can't just rely on sight because that's not the full picture. You can't be like, oh, I see a truck, the end. It's like, no, it's like I see a truck, but it makes me feel this way. I'm hearing something. I'm sensing something. I know something from looking at that truck. So I feel like they were playing me a little bit. They're like, come on, Jess, like start to develop deeper in your other clairs so you can get the full picture. So I feel like for me, a lot of the time I'll see something and then I might hear something and then I'll feel something. So it kind of comes in little waves. But I actually see and hear a lot of words. They'll just say one word to me. It's almost like I got a little keyboard back there and they're just pressing all the keys going, that one. And I feel like it just works.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I find it similar with words. I'm obviously a writer, so there's that. But as I find if I walk, I do most of my writing while I walk. So I think there's something about rhythm or the body that helps me. But then I've always received like word and then word and then word. Like I don't know what I'm writing, but it's like I'm picking it up as I'm walking. But it is like, yeah, a download of a word and then a word. And sometimes I hear it, sometimes I know it, sometimes I feel it. But it's like, yeah, that's so interesting with the word.
Yeah, that's funny that it's so similar for us.
Yeah. And I think as well, I love that you mentioned clairvoyance because I think most people that's the one that they want the most. And I think sometimes from my personal experience, but also like in teaching others as well, I think there's this, we like doubt ourselves because we don't receive it the same way as other people.
Yes.
So I was always really connected to the angels. Angels were like a big part of my path early on. Like I even just like reading books about them and all of that, you know, it was like they were a little gateway for me. But because I didn't see the angels the way I saw them depicted, like in oracle cards and like as in like humans with wings, I didn't think that I was connecting with them. And so my friend Kyle Gray, who like, you know, he's the angel expert or whatever, he would see them like that. And so I just doubted myself. But then just recently, the way they've been appearing to him have changed. Like they're more like beings of light. And I'm like, that's what I've been seeing my whole life, you know? And so I think it's really important that like we loosen our grip on like the way you receive them might be different to me. And sometimes I think as well, like with working with spirit guides, for example, like if I'm teaching someone that, I'm like, it doesn't even matter if you get the name right. Just like you name them, like have a name that you call them so you know you're connecting with that frequency. Because it's like, yeah, when we're in our head, it's like it's right or wrong. It's 100% right or not. Yeah.
Definitely. And there is that comparison. You do compare.
Yeah.
It's just normal. It's human. It's what we do. But
We do,
I am
yeah.
with you. And even like my mediumship has evolved over time. Like it's so much different today than what it was even 6 months ago. It's because I'm doing things differently. I'm asking for new information. I'm flowing a little bit more. I'm getting back to the soul. So I think I got into this pattern of you have to give all this information. You have to touch on every aspect of life. You have to go and give this evidence and this and this and this. And I was so dictating in the way that I was reading for people that I was losing the essence of why I'm there in the first place. And that's to be a channel. It's not about me and the boxes I want to tick for somebody. Yeah. And even sometimes I'd walk away from readings and go, oh, that wasn't the best that I could have done. And then I had to start saying to myself, hang on. That is exactly what that person needed in that moment. It might not be what I thought was the best reading, but then I get feedback going, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. I've been thinking about it. And I'm like, hey, maybe I gave them what their soul needed in that moment and what this person wanted to portray. And so I think when people come into readings too, I like that whole loosen the grip. Like loosen the grip on what you think you need in that moment, because it might be very different to what you think. And maybe you might get out of it more than what you thought that you would if we don't have those expectations and we both come in, or we all come in with that open mind and just allow spirit to take us on the ride that day. It just ends up being so much more profound if we don't try to control the narrative so much.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Final question is, what returns you to the wisdom within?
Oh, you know what just came to mind? Silence. Silence does. I feel like when we listen and we're present and we're silent, that helps us to connect back to self. So that's really funny. As soon as you said that, that just flew into my mind. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to practice that a little bit more.
And I love it. I'm imagining you in the park, eating your lunch, being in silence. Beautiful. Yeah, Thank you so much, Jess. Can you let us know the best way to find you, look you up, what's your website, all of that?
Yes, absolutely. So I am on Instagram at Jessica Lynne Mediumship. I also have a podcast called Talk Spirit to Me, which you can find on Spotify or Apple. Or you can go to my website, www.jessicalynnemediumship.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a beautiful episode. We are going to tune in with our soul now, with our soul inquiry prompt. Soul inquiry is a journaling reflection, or it's something you can just do right now by placing your hand on your heart and connecting with your soul. And the prompt for today is, what does Spirit want you to know today? What does Spirit want you to know today? Connecting in with your soul, connecting in with the unseen world of Spirit. What does Spirit want you to know today? Breath in and out. And what is a baby step you can take in that direction today? Beautiful. It's been a beautiful episode. Let's take a deep breath in and out together as we close this sacred space. Thank you for returning with me. If you'd like to keep returning to yourself and returning here with me, then please hit subscribe. And you can receive all the show notes and a lot more over at rebeccacampbell.me/podcasts.